the president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and he was quite categorical on the items that are going to be free. But there are questions being thrown about already. Is that all that would be free when it comes to the secondary education? And he actually went on further to specify that the things his administration mean when they say free senior high school are as follows. And I'm just going to be mentioning what the president said. Admission, library, science center, computer laboratory, examination fees, utility fees, free textbooks, free boarding, and then free meal. Some of these are already free. Under the former administration, that's under President John Dramani Mahama, they said that their policy was progressively free senior high school, and they had a list. We'll put up that list on your screens shortly to see the things that under former President Mahama were free. Some of them have been mentioned by the president. Let's go to IMANI Ghana now. They are saying that the policy is likely to face some major challenges. Let's find out what their main points are. We've been joined by Patrick Stevenson, has joined us on the line. He's the head for and Center for Economic Governance Policy Affairs at IMANI. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. Good afternoon.
Right. The president mentioned that it's going to take off, that's the free senior high school is going to take off in September later this year. You are already raising doubts. What are the key things you think make the policy fall short of expectation?
Well, Martin, I should put on record that any government anywhere that has said they want to do anything has been able to do them. It's usually the consequences of those actions, which we have sought to critically evaluate in the past. Regarding the current propositions that the current government has made with regards to withdrawing the fees that are paid by senior high schools, as it were, we are yet as an institution to put together a comprehensive policy brief based on the details that they will provide. But having said that, results of previous work that we had done for the area appear to suggest that the idea in itself is not bad, but given our experience as a country from policy implementation for such social interventions, there's a cause for worry, and some of those issues relate to, proper targeting of people that, as it were, will have to be beneficiaries of such socially oriented policies. And I say that fundamentally because we've had the implementation of the FQ, for instance, at the basic level, and that had created a lot of challenges, which has resulted in the proliferation of private schools because then quality standards have significantly declined from the public schools.
And you think that the quality of education
happening at the second cycle level?
Patrick, you think the quality of education has declined because FQ was technically free?
Pardon? I can't hear you.
I'm asking that you're raising the question of quality, and I'm asking that is it your observation, or probably from some research you've done, that F-cube, the education at the lower level, is poor because of the fact that it is free?
Well, a multiple of factors, really. I mean, anytime you have seen, the provision of such free goods, to some extent, quality has suffered. We would be playing hanky-panky with the truth if we do not recognize that the quality, for example, of human resources that we churn out of the basic educational institution systems, those that come from the private schools appear to be somewhat given some level of advantage over the colleagues that come from public schools. We have consistent cases of teacher absenteeism in the public sector.
So your initial
of lack of materials that are provided for effective teaching and learning purposes in the public sector.
So one of your major fears now is that there is a likelihood that quality might be affected if the free policy is implemented.
Quality of education, yes, is one that could be affected. Proper targeting of people that have a need, which is the orientation of this policy. Blanket application of certain free, propositions will not necessarily imply that the people who are needy, are going to be the recipients at the end of the day. You have a case where there's a possibility that people who typically will be able to afford for the policy, for example, are going to be sidelined, which is why I suggest that until you have a comprehensive policy proposition for implementation that's going to come from the office of the president or from government, that gives you an opportunity to see what the possible gaps will be the best you can do is to do the best you can do as an institution is to just look behind and see what propositions they made the very first time they had this policy constructed.
All right, Patrick, clearly I think it's a concern you've raised. We would want to look at the concept here. The president was categorical and clear when he said that public secondary schools, so it means that the already established ones like the Achemotas, the Prempeh colleges, and then the previous built, which are now going to also start taking in people, are going to be on the same playing field. You think there's going to be some disparity and that they should rather target, if you're talking about targeting, are you looking at maybe the unknown ones in the hinterlands, or they should all be given the same level playing field?
Well, Martin, when you make such a proposition that some schools should be targeted and provided support than others, I think it will be a wrong way of looking at targeting, which has been the problem we've had with the policy construct in its first place. The individuals who are supposed to be paying fees who cannot afford it. It's not the institutions. And so the targeting is a lot more granular than it is at the institutional level. You would reckon that about 280,000 students graduate from the DEC. Just about 25% of them get into public secondary schools or second cycle educational institutions.
Right.
Now that is based on the ability of the students to pass and obtain certain grades. You mentioned Achimota, you mentioned Adisadel, you mentioned Ogasco, etc. But there are schools like Onokono, there are schools like Orali back then, there are schools that are less endowed. These are all schools that take students who typically wouldn't make it to your grade A schools. Okay? Purposely because they either didn't get any private education at the basic level, etc. And these private schools, some of them are paying as high as thousands of dollars. And their kids get up into the public school system, which, as we speak today, perform better than the private one at a second cycle level. And so if you're providing anything free, I'm saying that it is important to target the needy students. Okay, and that's the sort of thinking that we should have around it. And these are some of the concerns we raised when the policy was first mooted by the current government when it was in the opposition. But as we speak today, all we have heard is a certain withdrawal. That has to be accompanied by a certain policy prescription. We have to see what the budget for the year looks like. We need to see what the government's own fiscal projections for the year look like. And then we can have a proper conversation around this.
On this. Thank you. Thank you very much. Just like you, we are all waiting for further detail on this particular policy. Then we can interrogate it further. But thank you for talking to us. Patrick Stevenson is head Center for Economic Governance and Political Affairs at IMANI Ghana. So